Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Welcome back. Hope your holiday is off to a great start. We've got a church invasion, an insurrection that we'll be unpacking here today. Going to go through it in great detail because Don Lemon is back. We remember who that guy is. And they waltzed right in there, invaded, insurrected. Some might even say attacked the ceremony, the service that was already right in session, obstructing what they were doing in violation of federal law. So we'll go through all the details. Bunch of reaction from the Trump administration, Pam Bondi, Harmeet Dillon. We've got the U.S. attorney who's on scene, who has also been activated, saying we're going to be looking into all of these individuals who are there. And they're so dumb, apparently, that they posted their names on Facebook. They said that they were so proud of themselves that they wanted everybody to know exactly who they are, which is good news for the DOJ. Should make that nice and easy. But these are the same people that are always very happy with themselves when they are doing something horrific. They shoot and kill Charlie Kirk, and then they salivate in that. Oh, more dead fascists. No matter what the issue is, if they feel like they're getting some political victory or taking the narrative away from the other side, even if it is demonic, even if it is invading the most sacrosanct place of most people's lives, and most people are spiritual or religious in some way, shape, or form, but they don't care. They just come in and invade. Well, we're going to go through it. We're going to look at the FACE Act. We're going to look at also the Ku Klux Klan Act, and we'll compare and contrast what happened in this church with some other FACE Act violations and criminal convictions, and see what types of penalties other people got for impeding on the rights of others under federal law, and see if we can apply that their direction. And then stick around to the end of this stream before we hear from you, because Don Lemon actually, in all honesty, seems a little bit nervous about this. Seems like he got a little bit carried away when he was invading the church, and so he made a couple of these videos. And this one is walking down an escalator. In another one, he's leaning over something at the airport, and he's kind of looking and sounding a little bit panicked. So we'll come back to that after we assemble all of the details about what went down there yesterday. We're glad that you're with us. Membos, stick around. As soon as the stream is over, we'll have a members only after party and debrief. See how your weekend was and see what else is cracking out there. But lots of insurrection, invasion, Minneapolis, Minnesota madness going on out there. And Caroline Levitt this morning said, President Trump will not tolerate the intimidation and harassment of Christians in their sacred places of worship. The Department of Justice has launched a full investigation into the despicable incident that took place earlier today at a church in Minnesota. We've got all the clips queued up. We're going to see how the whole thing started to materialize. Don Lemon was outside. He knew what they were doing. He's now going to explain that he was just a journalist, just reporting on things, just like other journalists do, which is not true at all. He was in there obstructing, participating in this violation. So shout out to Caroline. Thanks for that update. The president is on it. Pam Bondi also came out last night, late, 8:37, said, I just spoke to the pastor in Minnesota whose church was targeted. Attacks against law enforcement and the intimidation of Christians are being met with the full force of federal law. If state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, this Department of Justice will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails. And we're going to get into this in detail because the DOJ has gone hog wild under the FACE Act. And the FACE Act, of course, we mostly talk about it in the context of abortion, but it's also got protections for places of worship. The Freedom of Access to Clinical Entrances Act, which also includes places of worship. So the question, of course, for Pam and the DOJ is, what is the full force of federal law? What is that? Is it like the full force of federal law like we've seen with the Epstein files and those prosecutions? Is it the full force of federal law and the FBI purging January 6th prosecutors out of the FBI or the DOJ? All right. Because if it's those, there's a little bit more to be desired. And we're we're encouraging some action there, of course, constructively. But Pam Bondi says she's been in touch with them. They will be prosecuted. We'll see. Should be convenient for everybody because they've got their names posted on their Facebook account. But Jesus A. Ossetti, he is apparently a person who is working under Harmeet Dillon. PDAAG, working for Harmeet, that's over at the Civil Division. And so he is now saying, we are activated. So we're coming in hot. Don't you insurrect our churches from there. Now, Harmeet was also out, and we're going to watch a lot of these videos here coming up. But she said the Civil Rights Division is also investigating the potential violations of the Federal FACE Act by these people desecrating a house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers. And these people are pretty bold. What is their problem with Christians? We're going to hear why they went to this Christian church, this place that apparently had somebody there working with ICE, and so they felt that was appropriate. But I wonder if there's any Muslims who are also working for ICE. I wonder if there's any Jewish people who are also working for ICE. I wonder if they would dare insurrect one of their churches or synagogues, temples, or places of worship, mosques. So Culture War Report has a video. We're going to come back to that. But this place was right around the corner from George Floyd Square. And of course, Renee Good was just blocks away from George Floyd Square. So this is George Floyd Square. If you want to go from George Floyd Square over to where this all occurred, it's just 18 minutes in a car, hop over the Mississippi River, and boom, you're there. So it's all in the region. There's this hot spot there right in Minneapolis. They say Renee Good moved here because she felt like it was going to be very acceptable to her, and she's going to be with her friends, and she's going to be able to fight for social justice for the foreigners and whatever. So it's in this region. So they decided they're just going to go into a Baptist church, and we're going to see more. But the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement X account also said, agitators aren't just targeting our officers. Now they're targeting our churches too. They're already following federal agents home. They're already creating databases. They're already governors and senators and House representatives are saying, go record these people. Get in their faces, essentially, like Maxine Waters would say. Gather evidence because we're going to lock it down and we're going to bring charges soon enough. They're now going from hotel to hotel, church to church, hunting for federal law enforcement who are risking their lives to protect Americans. Tim Walz and Jacob Frey are responsible for whipping these mobs into a frenzy and then allowing them to run rampant. Now, we won't be deterred. ICE isn't going anywhere. And this is the church that they attacked, City's Church in Minneapolis. They say, we worship Jesus. It's a community of Christians who live as witnesses for Jesus in the Twin Cities. We gather to worship him on Sundays, 1524 Summit, 8:30 and 10:30. And they just came in and wrecked the whole ceremony. So you can see January 11th was the Judas sermon. Then 3 Reasons to Serve the week before. And then Total Savior to the end. They're doing good work over there. They've got a podcast. They've got membership meetings. And you know what these other people don't have? Any of this. All they have is their left-wing woke infatuation with social justice and really themselves. And they think of themselves as gods. You know, they have to save everybody. They have to save the planet because climate change. They have to save democracy because Trump. They have to save every single thing is their problem because they're like gods. They can't just let, the actual God actually run the thing. So they want to interfere and wreck your God and our God so that they can substitute their God in place, which of course is the government. So let's take a look at what ultimately went down. A bunch of clips coming up. And so let's try to assemble some of the timeline. This is the scene of Don Lemont, the fired anchor, left anchor, resigned, whatever happened to him. He's now out in Minneapolis. And here he was colluding and conspiring with these invaders to commit together in one group on invasion and insurrection of a Christian church. And here he is discussing the plan and the plot before it goes down.
Into Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute,
wow,
which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we were like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? Saw the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pullup, and it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, can't tell you where they're going.
Yeah, surprise operation. So he knows, because they're planning to violate federal law by invading a place of worship in violation of the FACE Act. He knows about it. He's been covering this for a long time, and he's there. He's on the ground. And he's thinking he's like an IRL streamer. You know, he's like hip now. He's like, I'm not part of the corporate media mainstream goon squad anymore. So now he's going to go do the man on the street stuff. And now he's going to be kind of like boots on the ground and really aggressive. And he's going to go into a church and violate federal law. So he's there. He's saying, you know, after the fact, we're going to come back to him because he's got all these clips now saying, I was just a journalist. I don't know what was going on. I have no idea what was happening. I'm just innocent dans les morts. But we're going to come back to this at the end. We've got his clips now of him really backtracking on this, saying, I have no idea what was happening. Yes, you did. You were live streaming the whole thing, Don. So that's how it started. Then we're going to make our way into the church. So here is, and there were a bunch of people live streaming, so there's kind of clips all over the place. And this was one from Steve Austin. And this is a pretty, you know, I'm Catholic, so I grew up going to Catholic mass, and it's very sacred, right? It's very somber. It's not loud. There's no interruptions. When stuff happens, it kind of, you know, pulls you out of your focus, and it's concerning, right? It's also concerning because you've had other churches and other Catholic schools and other Christian organizations that have had gunmen come in and start blasting people in the middle of a ceremony. We've had that one church where I think it was Texas or something, the armed congregation security agent shot back and killed the guy, right? So you're on kind of alert, and it's you know, it's a crowded place. And so you have these people coming in here and invading and insurrecting the most sacred time probably of your entire week, honestly. So here's how it went down. We'll listen to a little bit of this. A lot of screaming, a lot of leftist lunacy. Here's what it sounded like on the scene, just so we know who these people are. And by the way, if you go around to New York Times or CNN or any of these places, they're not covering it. They know how reprehensible it is, so they don't want to talk about it. But the truth is, this is their side. This is their party. These are the people that they represent and that they defend. That's their audience over there on CNN. It's these people. So they're all sitting going, what the hell's going on here?
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good!
Okay, right in the middle of the service.
Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at...
That's the sound of a demonic force screaming in the middle of a church. So if you have any doubts about what we're listening to, you can, oh, he's an unhinged lunatic. That's true too. There's something deeper in there though. And we're watching this battle right now between good and evil play out on the scene.
Whipple every day fighting for the humanity, standing for our people. Where are you? You drink your coffee, you got your jewelry, you have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities? I'm not going to comment. You have no comment, exactly.
Okay, see this poor kid right here? See this young kid? Freaked out as can be? Being consoled by his father? That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with demonic forces who are possessing probably large swaths of the individuals in this room who have invaded a sacred place and tormented an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old or whatever, however old that kid is, young. Horrific things that they're doing, but they do it for Renee Good. Is that what they're screaming for?
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good!
Okay, and I think that might be one of the leaders there. We're going to come back to this because these morons put their names all over the internet. Look how happy they are with themselves. Very thrilled that they just broke into another house of worship, wrecked the entire service, screamed insults, and basically spit acid from their mouths and their orifices at other people, and then just pat themselves on the back and waltz right on out.
All these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit. Is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit?
Okay, that lady's praying for him. Hopefully it works.
Does Jesus profit off the words? No! Jesus would dine with immigrants. You do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't.
You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians. But we know you live an easy life, don't you? A very easy life while people are starving. Shame. Out now. Out now.
Okay, this is the Democratic Party, by the way.
Living real comfortable while the people starve. Living real comfortable while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're all living real comfortable, aren't you? Shame on you. Do something. Stand with the Somalis. Stand with the Latinos. Quit ignoring this.
All right, so enough of that guy. You can understand where that voice is coming from. It's from a different dimension or circle of hell. So that is what happened. They broke in, started screaming at everybody, calling them fake Christians, insulting their coffees. And they did this for what exactly? Was that an ICE church? Did they go there and worship like U.S. code, which makes it federally legal to deport illegal aliens? Is Jesus somebody who says you should break the law and come into another person's country? Is that like a Christian thing? That you should just do whatever you want and not follow society's rules? And then if you do break the law, then just who cares? Was that Jesus's morality? I don't think so. So is that what they were screaming about? It was Renee Good, who was, again, obstructing federal agents, trying to, from our perspective, escape the scene and putting another federal agent in danger? Is Jesus in favor of that? Jesus is like, yeah, run over federal agents. And then say the Our Father, and you'll be fine. I don't think so. So for some reason, they went into a Christian church. Well, we know what the reason is. It's because they hate Christians. Karl Marx, his dying fights were capitalism and Christianity. And so this was just a fake because, really. They didn't really ice Renee Good, all the crap, whatever. They just want to go and just wreck a Christian service is really where they're operating from. The ICE and the Renee Good stuff, all just a bonus. So that was one video. Now, inside Dalai Mon. So that was one video that was being recorded by that psychopath. Then we have another one inside. This one's 4 minutes, and so we'll just kind of hit some of the highlights on it. But here's outside the church. And videos are getting posted. Videos are getting deleted. And here is this one that was clipped over here from Luke Taylor, USA. Shout out, Luke. Here's what he said. He archived this one.
He says here as well. The Gospel of John, chapter 13.
Excuse me, Pastor. You said that you asked the Lord to stay in your house, to stay in
Hey, Meta, record.
It looks like they're figuring out their tech a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, so then somebody's going to go in there. Okay, let's go in.
Oh, no.
Little low bit rate, go inside, you know. In a church, in a place of worship. All right, so video's a little bit rough. Then we get around here. You can see people are saying, get out of here. You've got all the other people, hands up, don't shoot.
Stop the service.
There's, you can hear Don Lemon in the background. So now he picks back up.
A number of people have left. There are some who are still sitting here.
Are you okay with the injustice that's happening within your city? We pray for justice. Are you okay? No, so you're not okay with
I'm just here. I'm just here photographing.
Are you okay with the
I'm not part of the group. I'm just
Yeah,
here
you are. Yeah, you are,
photographing.
Don. You were there outside with them, conspiring with them. You were following them in. And you're going to try to escape all of this like it's a free speech First Amendment problem, like you are a journalist and you should be immune from any criminal charges as long as you have a camera. And as long as you call yourself Don Lemon, then you can do whatever you want. That's not how this is going to work. Harmeet Dillon is going to confirm that for us. And here is more. Now he's actually going to get involved in the obstruction. He's not just standing there reporting. We're going to come back. He's going to go talk to everybody. Oh, why are you such a bigoted Christian xenophobe? In a second. All right, so you can see that goes on for a little bit, just getting a flavor for things so we can make sure we're chronicling all these people. And anybody who's a part of this, I hope that the FBI has their CSI enhance team ready to go. Any one of these protesters better have their face identified, and they better have FBI agents at their homes tomorrow morning, ready to go. Just like they did with the J6ers. They unleashed hell of the federal government, kicked in doors, caused suicides, caused miscarriages, caused all sorts of havoc and chaos and death. We're not encouraging that because we just want justice for the actual criminals. The J6ers, many of them were invited into the Capitol before they were charged. We saw and played the videos here a million times, the shoulder tap and come on in. So the FBI has the capability, okay? They can facial scan everybody and corroborate where they're located and send agents there immediately and round them up. And so you can see that was just one clip. Now, several more coming up. Here is more in response. This came from the Center for Baptist Leadership. This was a Baptist church. They said, shocking footage from City's Church in Minneapolis this morning, an SBC church, where an anti-ICE mob stormed the service and disrupted their worship, alleging one of the church's lead pastors is an ICE agent. So that's why. So if somebody in your place of worship is an ICE agent, that gives them, I guess, carte blanche right to come in here and violate your freedom of religion and insurrect that accordingly. So that's what they posted. Of course, we saw this lunatic. People are trying to identify who this is. But yeah, demon possessed. We already saw this video. We don't need to watch it again. But somebody who's completely unhinged, maybe even filled with a spirit from down under. Now, here was more. This moment, we of course will never forget. High-res photo of this young man, young kid, being traumatized. Well, maybe if his parents like the Somalians better, he wouldn't have to live with such a bigoted family who's just there worshiping Jesus. You should worship the federal government, and then you'll be a much happier family and your boy won't have to be traumatized. In fact, he should be joining us. Let us take him and bring him in and inculcate him into the communist ways. It's really sick, man. And this is happening in, communities where it should not be happening. These are people protecting sanctuary city policies, protecting foreign invaders, and watching their own citizens suffer. It's like a suicidal ideation. It's hard to explain exactly what's going on in their brains. But Don, after this, was very happy with himself. He said, this is what protesting is all about. We did a great job. High five, everybody. We have to make people uncomfortable, even if we're violating federal law.
You heard what some of the folks said in there, that this is, they shouldn't be there. And,
we'll come back to that.
They shouldn't be uncomfortable, and this is our house and whatever. That's what protesting is about, is to make people uncomfortable. You may not like it, but, if they went into a church, any church.
Okay, so making people uncomfortable. That's what it's about. That's exactly what Don Lemon did. Once he was inside, he was then talking to multiple people and was very happy about it. And so let's start with this clip over here at this location, which is him talking to the main pastor. And this guy, you can just see it in his eyes. He's just shocked that this is even happening. What the heck is going on right now? You can see in his body language and his facial expressions.
What do you think of this? I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to
What are you
freedom of
talking
speech
about,
and
bro?
freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Get out of his face. Please don't push me. You just broke into a church. You just wrecked the entire ceremony. You just committed a FACE Act violation, maybe a Ku Klux Klan Act violation. And now you're going to tell him not to push you because after you're encroaching in his personal space. He is just a disgusting person through and through. And then he's going to turn around and use our Constitution, our sacred Constitution, that in the same amendment that he's citing, you know, we have freedom of association and freedom of speech. Where do you think freedom of religion is, you jerk? It's right in the same one. And so we want him arrested for this. We want him indicted or a direct complaint. We're fine with that too. But this is outrageous what he did. And this is now making him a part of the obstruction. Okay, he's not a journalist anymore. He's just standing there observing. He's going in here. Let me talk to you about all this. This is all for his live stream. He makes multiple mentions to go like and subscribe to this channel, which we would appreciate also if you would consider that here. So here is the rest of this.
That's why we're here. Okay, that's why we're here. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
Unless you're here to
chronicle what
worship.
happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to, we're
Yeah,
here to
right.
worship. We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you're not supposed to judge another person's, religion and kind of all of that, but what the hell does he think this is? He thinks it's appropriate to just go invade someone else's religious service. Again, go try that in a mosque, go try that in a synagogue, see how that works out for him. But they won't do it there. They'll only do it to Christians because maybe it's because of, the meek shall inherit the earth or turn the other cheek and those things. But I'm pretty sure that this is not Christ-like to go in there and to interfere with other people's sacred moments of worship and then turn around and call yourself a Christian. All right. So that's Don Lemon. Now, we'll see exactly what that might lead to. Hopefully it's criminal charges and an indictment. And, if we had a real serious government, he'd probably already be being questioned by the FBI. But here was more. He was very excited about this, right? He even admits that was pretty traumatic for people. And that's what protesting is about. We have to go in there and we have to traumatize people like that little kid.
Watch this guy here. Look, he's hugging his kid. I've imagined it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But again, careful. It's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But that's what really, careful, please. Really slippery. Not kidding. That's what protesting is about. And so, watch this guy.
Make it uncomfortable. So we've got Don Lemon before, during, and after at the scene of the crime, repeatedly committing infractions to obstruct the pastor from tending to his flock, from delivering the sermon, from completing the service. Don was actually in there. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. That's insurrection of the ceremony, and he should be indicted for it. So we'll see what happens ultimately with the DOJ. They say that they're on it, but this guy is captured a lot of attention because he's much smarter than Don Lemon, which is not, a real high bar. However, he was having a good conversation with him and explaining just what a monster he actually is. Here is this from the church.
These people have come into our house and they've interrupted our worship. This is a house of peace, and we try to proclaim that. And this stirs division and rancor. and in the end, it's not helpful. Ultimately, I believe they've lost. They've emptied a house of worship. Everybody's gone home.
Everyone's gone.
The point has been proven worthless. And so...
and let's put a pin in that, because we're going to come back on the FACE Act stuff, and the FACE Act, you know, clinical access. And so it's about abortions. And if you block for 1 minute some person's lady's abortion, you get arrested and you get put in prison for conducting a blockade, is what they say. You want to just kind of kneel outside an abortion clinic and just pray to Jesus? Then they'll just say, oh, you're trying to interrupt our service. You're trying to interrupt our ceremony. We go to Mass, take communion. They go to Planned Parenthood, abort a child. Okay, both are the same kind of process and a religious sacrament. So if you and the Biden people will put Christian individuals praying in prison for preventing the delivery of a service, in this case for them it's abortion, it's the same damn thing here. In this case, it's the delivery of salvation taking place in a Christian church. And they prevented the delivery of that sermon. This FACE Act should protect both. That's what the law says. We're going to read it. But the ceremony is over. It's been wrecked. Thanks, Don. And he's still standing there.
In the end, I think they lose. But more importantly, if I was to break into any of their houses uninvited, cause derision and upset according to their values, I would be kicked out ultimately. It's not a good way.
And in prison.
I feel violated. I feel interrupted. I feel angry.
May I ask you something? When you were saying if you had showed up at their house, they're saying that people are showing up at houses where they're citizens
Yes.
or without due process
Yes.
and breaking and entering the house.
Yes.
One that we saw, I've been watching from New York, with a battering ram into someone's private property, and
Yes.
there's no recourse.
Yes.
There's no, you understand what I'm saying?
This is all part of a much larger dialogue, in my opinion. On one side.
Don is scum, okay? They're not breaking in and kidnapping Americans. They are arresting illegal aliens, and their due process has been afforded to them. They don't have to have a full jury trial of their peers before they can be deported. If you're a non-citizen, then you go through the immigration process. You don't go through the criminal justice process under Article 3 courts. You live under Article 2 courts. But Don is too stupid to realize that. So he keeps saying dumb things like, you know, it's not illegal to break into the country. It's a misdemeanor. What is a misdemeanor there, Donnie? So here's more from this guy. And now he can't even speak because Don's co-conspirators are still running around with their fists raised in the air, screaming whatever they're screaming on their way out of the church.
Are people who watched a previous administration bring 12 million people in over the course of 4 years. And many of them undocumented, many of them criminals, etc. This is another administration's corrective. Now,
they're like feral. Did you hear that, lady? She's like a feral creature. What is even coming out of her mouth? Power to people, don't stop. People to power to people to power people, don't stop. What are you doing? You're in a church. Go get a life.
Whether you agree with the policies or procedures, I think I could actually be sympathetic to some of the things where there have been
Connection low.
challenges to action and decency. At the same time, these are what are called targeted interventions by ICE to keep the American people safe.
Yes.
I respectfully may interject here. I've been out reporting on a lot of these, and they're not targeted. There are no warrants signed by a judge. Let me finish. And they're American citizens, many of them. Most of the people that they detain don't have criminal convictions or criminal records.
I'm not going to get into the weeds.
But you should know that, though. Don't you think that's part of it?
Yes.
He is a man at church, Don. Why should he be up to speed on the ins and outs of immigration proceeding? And how dare you demand that he answer your questions? You just walk up to random people. Are you conflating spirituality and being a Christian with like endorsing the like every single Trump policy or something? Because he says he's a Christian too. This is it's such an insulting thing from Don to even think that this is journalism. No wonder he got canned.
And I could also show you many opposing sides where we're also picking up the very criminals that have put Americans in danger.
Man,
and
shout out to this guy.
I'm not saying it's pretty. I'm not saying it's not messy. I'm not saying it couldn't be better. I'm saying this is a part of a much larger dialogue in which one administration caused a great deal of chaos and havoc and danger for American citizens, and another is trying to correct that.
Do you believe that? Why? Honestly,
Okay.
let me talk to you
Listen,
just on
you're
the
not
facts.
a journalist.
Yes, I am. I want to give you the facts.
No.
Did you know that undocumented people and immigrants commit far less crime than American citizens?
We're done here. We're done here.
Than natural-born Americans? You won't listen.
If you could ask,
I'm giving you the facts. It is.
Give me facts. I would have a conversation.
But I can respond to you.
No,
Did
Jesus stand with the oppressed?
Because he doesn't want to listen to facts.
You don't have any facts, Don. You don't even know what a misdemeanor is.
That's the interesting thing about this is that they won't listen to facts.
No.
You won't because
when you pose as a journalist.
I am a
No,
journalist.
you're not.
Journalists give facts.
And then you start correcting me with facts and don't have.
You shouldn't hear the facts.
Of course, I should hear the facts.
Most of the people who are picked up
but
are
will you
not.
give me the facts on both sides?
That is the facts on both sides. Most of the people who are picked up and are detained are not convicted. They have no criminal convictions. They have no criminal records. None.
That's not a requisite in order to be deported from America, that you have to go and be convicted for a crime. If you're here illegally and your status is unlawful, that's enough. So don't continue to add conditions in order to satiate your political goal, which of course in this case is to keep people here as long as possible. You can only remove people if they've been convicted of murder 3 times, then you can begin deportation proceedings because then we really don't want that person. And by the way, they would keep that person anyways. They already released them. You can be, we've got clips coming up of this, but you can be an ICE agent going after PDF files who are abusing kids. The Democratic Party will still defend them as opposed to the kids because this is their constituency, the illegal alien population, the immigrant population, whatever they call them. That's their power base. And if they lose that, their whole party's gone. So here was a montage and a little bit of a clip of the woman who organized the whole thing. We're going to come back to her because they were posting their names all over Facebook like dummies, which is going to be great. Very convenient for the FBI. But here's this little clip here.
David Easterwood is a pastor here. He is also the director of the field office for ICE in St. Paul. So someone who claims to worship God, teaching people in this church about God, is out there overseeing ICE agents. Think about what we've experienced. The murder of Renee Good at the hands of ICE. A Venezuelan national shot by ICE. A 6-month-old baby who almost died as a result of ICE unleashing military-grade weapons on our community. How dare you claim to be a pastor of God and you are involved in evil in our community?
Do you think Jesus would be all right, so we're looking forward to seeing her also in handcuffs for obstructing and breaching the delivery of services, in this case a sermon, under the FACE Act. So she'll be prosecuted accordingly. And there's a lot of precedent for this. There are other Christians sitting in prison for obstructing the delivery of abortion services. That woman was just obstructing the delivery of salvation services and needs to be held accountable.
We're about worship these folks. We're about spreading the love of Jesus in these cities.
Try to talk to them?
No church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday, and we were interrupted by this group of protesters. Yeah. We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left.
Nope. And now maybe we add some trespassing charges in there too. We ask you to leave. This is not public property. This is a Christian church. You're not allowed to come onto the property and just do whatever you want on it. So we've asked you to leave and you didn't leave. So we should also have trespassing charges as well. But the state prosecutors aren't going to do anything about this. They're not even talking about it. Cops have basically abandoned the scene in many locations in Minneapolis because they agree with the rioters. They agree with the insurrectionists and the anti-Christian demonic forces. Okay, all the faces, make sure we're getting them all. All right, FBI, get your CSI enhanced team. Perfect. She seems like a good one. Got that one. Got it. All right, lock it down, and hopefully the agents are being deployed. So we've got this one now also. After the fact, it looks like Don Lemay went and had a conversation with the main conspirator, all working together. Don was there before, he was there during, he was there after. Now he wants to go talk to the leader of the cabal and ask her how the whole thing went. Here is a little bit more of this.
An operation that is secret, that they invited folks out.
This is Operation Pullup, more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere. They don't expect us to come there, and then we disrupt business as usual.
Wow, admitted it.
So right now it's kind of mayhem. We're not part of the activists, but we're here just reporting on them. Did they explain to you why they're here?
They did not.
They said that there is someone here in Easterwood, someone who is a member of ICE, and he's a pastor of the church.
Our church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday. We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left.
So this is what the First Amendment is about?
No, it is not.
The freedom.
Nope. It's also about freedom of religion, and you can't impede another person's practice. There's very clear law on this there, Don. And so you heard him say, well, we're not a part of this, but here now let me obstruct with them. Let me ask you questions like I'm just reporting.
To protest.
There's varying array of views in this church on politics of immigration.
Right.
The complexity of the issue.
This shows you just how divided America is. When you look at the protesters here, and then you look at the people there who are praying, and you know what was the interesting thing? If these two groups could just get together, they might figure out what to do.
I don't necessarily agree with.
Maybe if you showed them some respect, maybe if you didn't go over and wreck their services, but they don't show Christians any respect at all. They actually hate them. There's a dripping disdain that you can see coming out of their pores.
Everything that's going on in the Twin Cities right now, but I don't think it's good to fight fire with fire. I think it's good to speak up. I think it's good to protest, but I think it's better to do it in a peaceful way.
Yeah, that was interesting to watch. This guy here, look, he's hugging his kid.
That you just traumatized. Great job.
I imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. They think you lost and this didn't accomplish anything, and you went into their house, the house of the Lord.
The reality is the house of the Lord is a place where love lives. It's not a place where you can have a pastor masquerading as the director for the field office of ICE in St. Paul.
So if they don't like your job, then they can, I guess, disqualify you from your religion. That's how powerful they are. So the FBI, the DOJ, if they're going to be taken seriously on this, they better match the efforts that we've seen historically from the FBI and the DOJ when there's been similar violations to this. And if this just turns into we're looking into it and nothing comes down the line, I think a lot of people are going to be very, very upset about that. So Don Lemay is going to be under scrutiny. Harmeet Dillon came out and she said this: this heinous act that occurred in Minnesota yesterday is receiving the highest level of attention from the Justice Department. Bondi and I are working around the clock because no right in our Constitution is more sacred than freedom to assemble and pray to God. Here's Harmeet from this morning on Wake Up America.
The Attorney General has been on this from the moment it happened. There are already 2 prosecutors from my office on their way to Minneapolis, and they'll be there this morning. We have an FBI team assembled and local prosecutors as well. This is going to get the highest attention from the Department of Justice because there is no more sacred right in our Constitution than the right to assemble and pray to God. And there are federal laws that protect that right. And what happened here was a shameful exercise of virtue signaling, disruption, fear, terror. You can see children in this video being ushered out the back by their terrorized mothers. And this is illegal. And I want to add that the Biden administration prosecuted people peacefully praying outside abortion clinics.
Yes, they did.
For much, much less. The Attorney General has been on.
Much, much less than what happened here. And let's talk about that, shall we? Because it's all about the FACE Act. And what's interesting here is they've identified themselves. Andy Ngo He said open border radicals on Sunday crashed a worship service in City's church over rumors that somebody in that church is an ICE agent. So they can do whatever they want. You're an ICE agent, they can come in and just kind of burn the whole building down because you're a bad person. If you're a fascist, if you're mean to the T's, they can just shoot you in the neck. If you are transporting illegals from one location to another, they can just shoot at your car like they did in Texas. It's whatever they want. Okay, rules are for us and suckers. They can break them. So they say that they're carrying out a reign of terror to punish any and all who support ICE. They burn Tesla factories. They just wreck everything. So here is more. Now, they've got their names all posted. Andy No said the shutdown of the city's church Sunday worship service in St. Paul was organized by a BLMer called Nakima Levy Armstrong. And her arm is probably strong because she has it up all the time. Great shoulder strength. She used to be the president of the NAACP in Minneapolis. Now she thinks it's appropriate to invade Christian churches. So hopefully she's in jail soon, but she should be joined by many of these other people, including those listed here. Nakima, not too bright. She said, here, I'm going to make a post that implicates all of my co-conspirators in federal felonies. Friends, here is a clip of our demonstration this morning at City's Church in St. Paul. Oh, she should have tagged the FBI too. That would have been a little helpful. Redacted at this church, and the acting field director of ICE in St. Paul is there. It's time for judgment to begin, and it will begin in the house of God. Remember at the start of this stream, I said that they think that they're gods. They think that they can deliver judgment. They think they can save the planet. They think that they're going to save the Somalians and the Mexicans and the Venezuelans and the Guatemalans and the Colombians. We got it. It's our time to pass judgment in the house of God, which she thinks is her. Thank you to all of the activists who showed up, plus independent journalists. No, they're all co-conspirators. They were there with you planning the raid. They didn't learn about it after the fact and then be like, oh, we're going to go like cover it. Wow, what's happening here? Let me grab my camera and report on it. Nope, they were there planning the invasion. So Georgia Fort, indict her. John Lemon, indict him. DeWoke Farmer, Brixton Hughes, and special thanks to all these people who can have aggravated charges for their participation. Monique Cullors Dottie, Chantel Allen, Satara Strong Allen, probably related, and others all belong in jail if they were there committing federal crimes for co-organizing this mission from the Black Lives Matter Minnesota, Black Lives Matter Twin Cities Metro, along with the Racial Justice Network, which to me all feel like they're criminal organizations who are facilitating the obstruction of the delivery of Christian services and sermons to Christian people in violation of federal law. So where is this going to go? Perhaps there can be a financial inquisition into all of these agencies. If there's some fraud everywhere else in Minnesota, maybe the BLMers are doing it too. Maybe we can go take a look at their 501c3s, check their tax records, and just go through all of this with a fine-tooth financial comb and find out where all the disgusting grift and graft is, and they can be indicted accordingly for that too. Because it seems like they were the ones, according to them, who funded this whole operation and were there to support the felonies. So she also said, yep, protesters disrupted church, said Georgia. And this is another person. Was Georgia Fort tagged in this? She was. An independent journalist, yeah. Protesters disrupted church services this morning where one of the people is acting director. So if you're an ICE agent and you're a Christian, then you now are on notice that these lunatics can come and attack your church in the name of social justice. So their demands were clear. Justice for Renee Good, who was shot and killed by an ICE agent. Where's the other half of that sentence? Oh yeah, deleted. You mean after she tried to ram him and run him over before escaping after disobeying a lawful order? Their demands were clear. Protesters said the objective of disrupting service, okay, so intentionally trying to disrupt the delivery of a service, just like the abortioners, was to inform the congregation of what they described. Do you Christians know that your pastor is working for ICE, which is basically Satan? when it comes to the word of God and not loving thy neighbor. What is that? Not loving thy neighbor with his work. Hey, tell the illegal invaders to love their neighbor. How come we have to love them as our neighbor when they break into our country? Okay, why don't they love their neighbor, which is us? And don't come into our country and steal billions of dollars from us, depress our wages, increase the cost of goods and services, and wreck the country. Bring in your other languages. Don't even learn English. Don't even care about the American flag. Learn nothing about the Constitution. Vote for democratic policies and increase social safety nets and turn our country into your country. We don't want that crap anymore. So now the pastor is Jonathan. Right now, someone was absent or left when the protest started. So the ICE agent wasn't even there yet. And they don't love our neighbors, but we have to love them because Jesus only applies to us and the laws only apply to us and due process only applies to us. They don't have to follow any due process when they break in, and ICE agents can't even go and pray anymore. How about the due process for the ICE agent? None there. All right. So all of them have been named. Great start. So hopefully the FBI agents are, writing in their notebooks and going and knocking on doors. Laura Powell also clipped that one for us. Shout out to Laura Powell. She's a lawyer. She also said that the woman taking credit for this is actually a lawyer and a former law professor. Okay, so she knows all about this. And a part of me honestly thinks that they're just seeing if the DOJ is going to call it. In other words, will the DOJ actually call their bluff and arrest them or not? So it's like a game of chicken. And they're just saying, yeah, we're just going to go into a church. What are you going to do about it? Anything? Which is why this one's really going to be a problem if nobody gets arrested, because it feels like it's a bluff. And the DOJ, ball's in your court now. Now, freedom of access to clinical entrances is the FACE Act, and it was originally passed by Bill Clinton back in 1994. We talk about it often in the context of abortion, says that you cannot use physical force, physical obstruction to intimidate or anything, any intimidation, no interferences, nothing. Somebody wants an abortion, get out of the way, roll out the red carpet, put them in a wheelchair, make sure they have those nice little damp towelettes, like you get on an airplane in first class when you're fancy and like, here you go. Oh, wow, what's this for? Make sure they have everything they need. Same thing or similar things also apply to religious places of worship. Dun, dun, dun. And so this is kind of one of those compromises, right? The Republicans back then are like, if you're going to pass this abortion bill, we want some religious stuff in there. And the abortioners are like, well, we really want the abortion thing. We hate the religious people. But if we need their votes to get this to pass, then okay, we'll give them that. So it's kind of like both ends of the thing. One's protecting a very holy place where people go to think about and reflect upon their existence and their connection with spirituality and their higher power, all these things, very sacred place. The other, they basically use vacuum tubes to suck out the parts of another human being out of the person of another person. So they're like, well, we got to protect both of these. So they put them into the same bill and they said, don't interfere with places of worship. Any use of force, threat, physical obstruction to intentionally injure, intimidate, or interfere with or injure any person who is exercising their First Amendment right of religious freedom. Don didn't want to talk about that part of the First Amendment, though. He's like, well, freedom of association and freedom of speech. Forgot about freedom of religion. So if you do that, you're in big trouble. And Wikipedia had some background on it, but that's just the background. Let's take a look at what the DOJ says about this specifically. This is from justice.gov. They say this act prohibits the use or threat of force or physical obstruction that injures, intimidates, or interferes with a person seeking to obtain any abortion services or religious freedom worships. Prohibits intentional property damage. It authorizes the AG to go seek statutory and compensatory damages and civil penalties for those who engage in this activity. Now, I wanted to share a prior conviction of this from the Biden years. Here you go. 4 more defendants were sentenced. They went to prison. This came out May 15, 2024 from the Justice Department. And so we can ask ourselves, maybe these same penalties can apply to these people who invaded the church. Here you see a U.S. District Court judge today sentenced 4 more of the 10 defendants who conspired to create a blockade. Okay, a blockade at a reproductive health care center in Washington, D.C. from receiving reproductive health services. 4 people got sentenced. Do you think it was a slap on the wrist? Do you think that they got like a diversion deal like they tried to give Hunter Biden? No, they didn't. In fact, Matthew Graves brought these charges against these people, and a federal judge sentenced them to years in prison. Okay, they were creating a blockade. They were leaning down, praying, sitting around praying, saying, don't go kill your child, okay? Guess what happened to them? Well, Herb went to prison for 27 months. Joan, she's 76 years old, okay? Joan, 76 years old. She got 27 months prison. Sorry, Granny, straight to jail. Jonathan Darnell, 42, he got 34 months of prison, almost 3 years. This guy, Jean, or woman, 74 years old, 2 years prison. Sorry, good luck. All 4 of them were convicted by juries, all of them for civil rights conspiracy and FACE Act violations. So that's a good start. Okay, there was an actual obstruction. I don't know if they actually obstructed the women from going and getting abortions in this case. But here, the service was not delivered. Okay, there were 100 people in that building who were there to get a sermon and a Christian service delivered, all obstructed by all of those people. So I think that that's even worse than this. A blockade that was effective or ineffective, they got years in prison for. This blockade was very effective. In fact, they had to cancel the service. Everybody left. Kids were traumatized. Live ones. So 3 defendants were also sentenced the day before. This is under Joe Biden. This woman called Lauren, she's 30, 57 months. That's a big one. Lauren. So she's going to serve some time. 69. This guy, John, 21 months. William, 54, 27 months. 2 additional defendants. This woman, Paulette, 75. She's going to be sentenced later. Another guy, 34. He got 10 months in prison. And at trial, what was shown? The defendants engaged in a conspiracy to create a blockade at the reproductive health care clinic to prevent them from getting their abortions. As part of the conspiracy, they traveled to D.C. from a number of different states to meet with them and to participate. And this was broadcast on Facebook, just like Dans les Mains. According to their evidence, they forcefully entered the clinic and they set about blockading the 2 clinic doors with their bodies, furniture, chains, and ropes. All right, so that's pretty intense, right? If they like chain the doors. Once the blockade was established, then they live streamed it. Now they all went to prison. So the defendant showed that they violated the FACE Act. They used physical obstruction to intimidate or interfere with the patient, and they couldn't get reproductive health services. Just like these Christians were blockaded from getting Christian services. And so you can see they put them in prison for a long time. 57 months, 21 months, 27 months, 10 months, 34 months, 24 months. Lock them up. DOJ can do it. FBI can do it. There's a whole case right here. Just kind of copy and paste, figure out what happened here and just go do the same thing. So hopefully we see, and I'm not joking about this, arrests and criminal charges for this. Completely unacceptable to allow even an inch of an invasion of a Christian church so that they can make a political point about ICE. It should be unacceptable. It should be it is absolutely unacceptable, but it should be met with the full force of the law in response. And there's a lot of these cases. You can go to all of this special litigation section over at justice.gov. Look at all these cases. FACE Act, FACE Act, FACE Act, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Holder, Connolly, Parente, Brown, Croak, all of them. Okay, tons of FACE Act cases, so they know how to bring them, and they should do that very quickly. And Harmeet says, by the way, this is not a public forum for your protest, morons. It is a space protected from these acts that you committed by federal criminal and civil laws. Nor does the First Amendment protect your pseudo-journalism of disrupting a prayer service. You are on notice, Dans les Mains, and we're going to be coming for you. And there's also the Ku Klux Klan Act, which has been thrown around a little bit. I heard Harmeet talking about that on with Benny Johnson. saying the legislation came out after the Civil War, and it's been actually used in a recent time. So they unleashed this to go after Trump and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. In February, the NAACP and others sued. They said, oh, the Ku Klux Klan Act. Trump is a KKK person, essentially. Rudy Giuliani, Proud Boys. They said that they were trying to commit a conspiracy, and this act enabled them to sue. Vindman sued. Lots of people suing under this act. And there was a train incident, too. The Biden-Harris presidential campaign sued Texas. Jury found them liable. There's punitive damages and all sorts of things. Yeah. So for civil rights, monetary damages. And so we'll keep our eye on this act and all the various clauses here. But there's going to be, hopefully, a lot of developments moving forward. Now, while all this is happening, we see that in Virginia, they've got a new governor because they lost that seat for whatever reason. So Democrats picked that back up. And the first thing that this new governor, Abigail Spanberger, did is she canceled all cooperation with ICE. So they're turning more into Minnesota. And here is the signature repealing Glenn Youngkin's cooperation with ICE. So we're just watching the cold secession, the cold Civil War continue to develop. Here is her signature.
And this executive order rescinds executive order number 47. State and local law enforcement should not be required to divert their limited resources to enforce federal civil immigration laws.
They're not. All they have to do is hold on to the illegal aliens who are already in custody of state officials. That's all.
It is a responsibility of federal law enforcement. Virginia state and local law enforcement officers must be able to focus on their core responsibilities, investigating crime and community policing.
All right, so that's that. And what's so wild about this is the people who they are protecting in their own cities and neighborhoods and states are some of the worst people in the world. And here is what this ICE agent had to say when he stopped to talk to the protesters to say, you guys, do you have any idea what you're stopping us from doing? Maybe you should pay attention. Is this what you want in your cities?
We're here to arrest a child sex offender. And you guys are out here honking.
No, we're press.
Press.
We're not
That
honking.
vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane.
Insane!
My warrant's not for you. My warrant is not for you. I don't have to go.
Go get a warrant.
It's insane how you can be honking.
Yeah, they want those people there. I can't explain it. I think maybe they think that they're lying about all this. Like, guys, we're here for a PDF file. No, you're kidnapping American citizens. No, actually, here's the documentation for them, right? They can't even accept it. They want convictions of a jury of your peers and all the things. Meanwhile, here's what Kristi Noem posted today, just a full dump of all of the worst of the worst. These are who these people are protecting. She said, look, Minneapolis, we have arrested over 10,000 criminal illegal aliens who are killing Americans, hurting children, and raining terror in Minneapolis because Tim Walz and Jacob Frey refuse to protect their own people and instead protect criminals. In the last 6 weeks, our brave law enforcement have arrested 3,000 illegal aliens, including vicious murderers, child PDF files, and incredibly dangerous individuals. A huge victory for public safety. Now, there is massive fraud in Minneapolis. At least $19 billion. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Our Homeland Security investigators are on the ground in Minneapolis conducting wide-scale investigations to get justice for the American people who have been robbed blind. Make America safe again. Here's the full list. She says, a criminal illegal alien from Somalia. Guys convicted of homicide, murderer, great, killed someone. A criminal illegal alien from L, known as MS-13 gang member, also homicide, drug trafficking, selling amphetamines. He was also arrested for ag-hom in El Salvador back in 2011, and he's just running around free here. Here's another one from Laos. Homicide, vehicle theft, assault, multiple other things. Another one. Laos, final order of removal back from 04. Strong arm R-ing a 12-year-old girl, okay? Kidnapping another child. That's who they're fighting for. Here's one. Criminal illegal from Laos. Also, final order of removal. Horrific things to a girl under the age of 13. This guy right here. Another one. Criminal from Mexico. 4 DUIs. Other child crimes. And ICE wants him gone. But the Democratic Party wants him here. A Laotian criminal, illegal, convicted of second-degree assault and other conduct, also listed. Okay, it goes on and on. You can see him here. But when ICE does its job, they think it's more appropriate to just go invade a church and scream at the pastor for being mean to criminals. Jesus wouldn't arrest them. You know that. Jesus would just like bless them, and then they would probably, maybe fix their ways or something. But we can't do that. Okay. We don't have the power of the creator of the universe. But the list goes on and so Kristi Noem is well aware that they're going to continue this and not stop at all. And Tricia from Ohio was confirming the same. Here was what she had to say.
Time and time again, we're talking about throughout the year, Bill, that our ICE officers have lodged detainers. Those detainers have not been honored. There's a very easy solution to that, and it's to allow our federal law enforcement, our ICE and CBP officers, to work with the state and local officers on the ground. That's what the state and local law enforcement officers want to be doing, is enforcing the rule of law. But if you look at who is in those jails, currently sitting in those jails, Bill, 1,370 criminal illegal aliens in Minneapolis' custody. Murderers, rapists, child pedophiles, those people should serve their time and then they should be turned over to ICE. We have not seen that. We've seen no cooperation. We have not been allowed or have those detainers be honored. That is exactly what we're asking for today.
Just hold on.
And, Governor Walz and Mayor Frey should come out today and agree to that. They should also agree to allowing their local law enforcement officers to give our law enforcement officers backup. That way, when our officers are being impeded, they're being obstructed, or they're being assaulted, we don't see public safety threats and crises like we've seen the last few days.
Yeah, and the other sneaky thing that they do with all this is they say, as we heard from Don, they haven't been convicted of anything yet. They haven't been convicted of any crimes yet. They've been charged with crimes. All we're asking ICE to do, or the local cops to do, is hold on to them so that ICE can pick them up while their case is pending. We don't actually need to spend all the time on a criminal case if you can just hang on to them and we say, oh, they're illegal. We've already got final deportation orders, or we've got criminal history on this person back from their home country. We know that they're very bad. We don't want them here. They've got no claims against removal. There's no claims, torture claims, or any other limiting things that would prevent us from removing them. So they could do their whole operation. ICE could then begin working on it, but the state has to hold them. They don't want to hold them because they want them gone. And then they don't want them gone. Then they can say they're arresting innocent people, and the illegals never even come back to court. Like, why would they respond, come back and get convicted and then go to jail and then get removed? So just hold them, because what happens is they commit crimes over and over again. They're released by these sanctuary states, and then they just abscond. They just evade their warrants and go to a different state. So Tricia is going to stay on it. We're happy to see it. Now, we've also got Don Lemon. Don Lemon certainly seems like he's a little bit nervous, backtracking quite a bit here. After he invaded and insurrected a church, committed multiple felonies along with his co-conspirators. He was there before, during, and after, and even did a little bit of an interview debrief with a lady who was in charge of the whole thing. He's now reacting to this. People are calling for him to be in jail, just like we have here about 50 times today. But now he's got a video, 2 of them out, where he's saying, hey, I didn't do anything illegal. I'm allowed to go and take pictures and just walk into buildings as an independent journalist and do whatever I want without any consequences for it. And of course, you can make the same argument, right? Many people in the Capitol building on January 6th were there just taking pictures. Did the DOJ just say, oh, you're just doing reporting? Oh, you're just going to go tweet about this? Oh, you're just going to publish this on your blog, so therefore all of the charges are gone? That's not how that worked. You can't just claim you're a journalist when you're in there literally obstructing talking to the pastor, just saying you're reporting when you're there part of the interference. Here's Don Lemon sounding nervous.
Fake right-wing propaganda news alert from this supposed right-angle news network.
Hey, shout out to Right Angle News Network on X. Make sure you're following them.
That I led a protest into a church this morning in Minneapolis.
You did?
That is complete BS. First of all, I had no idea who the organization was until I arrived this morning. And
okay, so what?
Number two,
you met them. We saw you on video. Then you went in with them. So you met them. You learned about them. You learned they were going to a church. So what is the fact about whether you learned that a week ago or you learned that in the morning? You still made the judgment call to go in. It's like, hey, I'm going to meet up with some guys for a job. What's the job? Oh, it's not a big deal. We'll tell you when you get there. Oh, okay, great. Show up to the job. You think you're going to unload a truck. And turns out you're going to go rob a bank. And you're like, oh, well, a little different job, but whatever. I need the money. So you still make the decision to go rob the bank. You're still responsible for those choices.
That's what every journalist should be doing. Exactly what I did. What I did was report, chronicle, and commit an act of journalism, which is...
You did commit an act of interference and obstruction, and you walked into the church with the rest of them. The pastor asked you to leave. You didn't leave. You stood there demanding he answer your questions, and then you went and started to harass other congregants who were on their way out saying, actually, I know the facts because I'm a journalist.
What every journalist should be doing. That's what happened. So if you really want to know...
They should try it. All the journalists should go try it, and they should all be indicted. In fact, it's not a bad idea, actually. Don Lemon's right. Every journalist should go into a Christian church, starting with all the CNN anchors. Jake Tapper should try it tomorrow.
Truth about what happened. Why don't you check it out at the Don Lemon Show on YouTube, on Substack, and on Twitch. And follow us on any of our socials if you really want to know the truth rather than getting some right-wing propaganda from a so-called news network.
Man, you came from CNN, so-called news network. Your entire career was a so-called news network. But all right, so he wants you to go subscribe to his podcast. So again, it's not really kind of independent journalisming. It's kind of like he's trying to cause a scene and then drive you to his channel so that he can make money off of it too. So there's a financial angle as well. But I didn't do it, okay? I didn't even know anything about it. And it's a non sequitur. It has nothing to, you still went in. You were still meeting with them before you invaded the church. And then he made a second video like right after the fact. And he's like, hey, don't indict me, okay? Don't. I'm not a bad person. He's now saying it was just journalism. And those other people were the criminals, but not me.
MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true.
What?
So let me just make it clear, because this assistant attorney general, I don't know, gosh, what's her name? It's something Hammett.
Harmeet Dillon, you jerk.
Dillon.
Harmeet, it's not Gillen, it's Dillon. Shouldn't you know this since you're so smart and you're a journalist and hopefully you're indicted soon by her?
Or whatever. So I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism.
No, you didn't. You're such a liar. Okay, he was there before the whole thing went down. Right here in video. He's like, hey, everybody, we're gearing up. He's like, I thought these were MAGA whiteies. But then he said, I looked around and there's some browns and some blacks and some white liberal women. So I know that they're my people. And he was right out there planning the whole thing with them, doing an act of journalism. Let's go back to Don.
Which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization. That's it. It's called journalism.
Nope.
First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, absolutist.
No.
There you go.
It doesn't mean you can do anything absolutely. It just means you're a big defender of the First Amendment. But the First Amendment also includes in there, Don, freedom of religion. So now we have to compete against a couple things. We have to set freedom of religion versus your freedom of speech and your freedom of association. We have freedom of association and freedom of religion. And yours doesn't trump ours. So we've got rules about this. And in fact, you can't just go in there and then make the story and then cover the story that you have created by working with them before the event occurs and then just call yourself some neutral third-party observer. You're clearly involved in it. You were actually doing the obstruction. not just reporting on things. And then you're going to turn around and use our Constitution, which you hate, and then lecture us about the First Amendment. Spare us.
Go. So why don't you talk to the actual person who is in charge of the organization?
You did.
And whose idea it was to have the protest at the church
that
before you start blaming me for stuff for which you have no idea.
Oh, we got it all chronicled there, Don. You live streamed the whole thing, moron. She tagged you on Facebook. She put your name in there. She said, thanks to the independent journalists. She posted it on the internet, and she's a lawyer. So she knows what she's doing. There's your name, Don, right there from Nikema. So why don't you talk to her? You already did talk to her. We've already got it all recorded. It's all on a live stream. So we actually don't need to ask any more questions because it's all pretty clear. Look at his smug little smile. This dude's like mental.
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
What do you think of this? I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will...
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live in there's a Constitution and the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me though.
We're here to worship Jesus. That's why we're here. Okay, that's why we're here. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave.
Get out of here.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to...
What a joke. No, you weren't there just chronicling. You were there participating. Before, during, and after, Don was there, and he should be the face of this. And honestly, I think that he, again, might want to be the face of it. I think that there is some part of them that knows that what they did was crossing the line, but they don't really care. They want to create some energy around this, right? The Renee Good shooting, they really tried to turn that into something and, you know, turn that into another George Floyd situation, but that hasn't really worked for them. And I think it's probably too cold and people just kind of realize like, yeah, she actually did accelerate. She actually did hit him. And so, you know, it doesn't look as good as the George Floyd situation and the knee on the neck thing, even though Floyd died of arterial sclerosis and hypertension and drugs in his system and all the things. But we want to see some energy, of course, out of the DOJ on this, because Don Lemon, and if they're going to continue to like turn the ratchet up, if they're going to continue to escalate and accelerate the tension, then it needs to be just stopped. It needs to be rooted out quickly. And how do you do that? You start indicting everybody, just like what happened with J6. The FBI is capable of it. Technically, do they have the will is the question. Here is one U.S. attorney called Alina Abba, who is a U.S. attorney, but then they kind of threw her off as being a U.S. attorney. So now she's, I think, special assistant. So anyways, here was the former U.S. attorney from the Eastern District of New Jersey, I believe, on with Fox and Friends this morning.
Carries criminal penalties and violations. And what the Attorney General is saying is the truth. She will come down hard. The Department of Justice will come down hard. Our Civil Rights Division will come down hard on anybody who tries to impede or intimidate somebody in a place of worship or a police officer or an ICE officer. It's just not going to happen in this administration. It carries criminal penalties.
Good. Hopefully it doesn't. And so we'll keep our eye on Pam and the FBI. Let's see if Cash has posted anything about this morning. Loading this one up. He said nothing. All right, great. So last post 22 hours ago about biometric searches. Great. All right. So maybe they're busy scanning all the faces. We hope. All right, my friends. So if you're just joining us, it's been a beautiful stream. And members, stick around. We're going to have an after party. We'll debrief, see what else is cooking out there. And then, of course, now we'll hear from you. But a quick recap. Lots of updates on this church invasion. We heard from Caroline Leavitt. We heard the White House is not going to be taking kindly to this. We got Pam Bondi. We've got many others from the White House saying that we will focus on this aggressively, including Harmeet Dillon, ICE, and others. We recapped everything that ultimately went down, went through a bunch of videos so we could piece together how it all unfolded. Don Lemon, of course, out there before the whole thing started. Then they invaded the church. Don Lemon went in. Then he committed additional acts of obstruction and was actually interviewing people as this psychopath went around and started to scream at the Christians, calling them fake Christians and criticizing their lattes. We saw this child was being abused, probably mostly by Don. It's like, that guy's the leader. And so hopefully he's doing well. Prayers up for their family and everybody there who had their service attacked by demonic forces. We saw Don Lemon was out saying, yeah, it's a little bit traumatic for the kids, but they deserve it because, they're bigots and their parents are bigots. He got into it with this dude who held his own against him after being rattled, after having his entire service destroyed. And we got to hear some of the psychopathy from their mouths, in their chants and in their enraging actions inside one of the most holiest places in the world. So we have that. Then we learn that the lady who led the whole thing, Nikema, basically tagged all of the co-conspirators who were involved in this attack, including Don Lemon, who hopefully is indicted very soon. We learned about the FACE Act. We learned about the Ku Klux Klan Act. We compared and contrasted this with another group of people who were charged under the FACE Act who got years in prison, a couple of years up to maybe 6 years, and a bunch of ranges for people who were there blockading an abortion clinic. They just blockaded a Christian service, so they should be in prison for years. No one's above the law. We then turned our attention to Abigail Spanberger in Virginia. She is now stopping all conversations with ICE, rescinding Glenn Youngkin's order so that the local cops can't work with ICE agents anymore. Forgot to play this clip, this short little clip of this Somalian called Ilhan, who is, for some reason, a congresswoman, saying that she hates America, basically. This is their ideology. This is this clip.
The one place where we thought we would never experience this is the U.S. goddamn states.
That's why they came here, to exploit us, is because they knew that our empathy as Western people who are, largely religious and Christian and, care about our neighbors and don't want other people to go hungry. Well, they can exploit that. It's the empathy exploit. They can just ride it to the tune of billions of dollars. We're so dumb, you can even buy off governors to change the state flag that make it look like your home flag. So we went through all that. We learned that ICE is going to keep up the pressure. Kristi Noem is releasing images of all of the criminals that they're actually arresting. And Don Lemon is now backtracking a little bit. He sounds nervous. I think he knows that they really screwed up here. And if the DOJ has the will and the stones to basically do what the Democrats did to the Republicans, except this time actually enforce the law rather than manufacture criminal charges, we'd see Don Lemon in handcuffs sooner rather than later. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. And thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us on the early show. Hope your holiday is amazing. MLK Day. Shout out to MLK and all those pausing to remember him and things that he brought to America. Shout out. Let's see who's joining us on the day, my friends. It is a beautiful Monday, and we're glad that you're here. Membos, thanks for sticking around because we're going to have a debrief. We're going to hang out for a bit and see what else you have to say about this. But we got some great comments this morning. We got Carrie B, Muffin Rando clipping for us. What a lovely morning it is. My friends, we got goats here. Oh my goodness. Look at all these images of goats. Yeah, we talked about goats over the weekend because apparently they're doing goat therapy there in Minnesota because they're so traumatized. Yeah, this lemon is going to get squeezed by the DOJ. Yeah, it's a gross visual, but thank you for that one. All right, so we're getting the day off right with a little Don Lemon face. Hey, what's going on? Maddie the Surfer says Trump's DOJ is pathetic. Okay, we vow we'll investigate, all action, no talk. Send Democrats to prison, period. A lot of them. From Maddie the Surfer. Yeah, I mean, we're going to start to see, we're starting to start putting our money where our mouth is over there at the DOJ. Lots of talk about, the low-level crimes. Okay, great. More drugs and more. We got all of that. But these are political crimes that are happening. And a lot of these crimes, if there's nothing that happens here, it's going to, I think, demoralize a lot of people on the right. It basically shows the Democrats can get away with anything if they're not charged. If Don Lemon is not charged. They were or heavily investigated. I mean, they were sending demands to like Sean Hannity. They were trying to prosecute Sean. I'm trying to think of like an analog. They were trying to prosecute Sean Hannity. If Sean Hannity was there on January 6th, they would have indicted him. Emperor Trajan. So apparently it was just announced that Don Lemon is getting charged under the KKK Act. But you guardians of your churches and other security employed by churches better think about protecting your churches. Yeah, because some of these psychos might come in with guns or something. Yeah. Emperor Trajan. We got baby goats yesterday. Pfft, look at this. So paranoid about them in the cold that I bring them in at night. My great Pyrenees doesn't know what to think. Man, you got actual goats? That's actually pretty cool. Shout out to the goats. I'm not real sure what you do with them. Do you milk them? Do you have goat milk? Or do they... That's a pretty handsome looking goat right there. Look at that coat. That's a nice coat on that goat. See what I did there? Hey, shout out, man. Shout out to all of our goat owners out there. Trino Galaxy says, straight SA behavior, as always, from the left. They declare us Nazis, but act exactly like those monsters. Honestly, screw them all. Yeah, it's lunacy. And I just can't even... You know, they'll turn around and they'll say, well, the sanctity of the Capitol building on the most sacred day of democracy, then they just go raid a church. It's like, okay, church is not even a government building. Church is way more sacred than what goes on in Congress. They joust each other in the halls of Congress and then nobody talks about it. It's a freak show over there. Anyways, thank you, Trino. Hey, Rick D says, Fang Fang's boyfriend, must be Eric Swalwell, announced at a campaign event last night that he would cancel the driver's licenses of ICE agents in California if he is elected governor. Yeah, because he needs to give those licenses over to the invading truck drivers who are like Pakistani or whatever, who come in here and then just murder people openly on the streets because they can't drive or read or even think. So, Rick, thanks. Hey, Severus. ICE, the real protectors from foreign invaders. Yeah, I mean, they're at the front line. So, yeah, they're handling a lot. And then when you are on ICE and you identify some very disgusting people, you also then have to protect us from the domestic co-conspirators who are facilitating the invasion. So they got their work cut out for them. Shout out to our ICE agents. Chubby Stubby says, everything that has to do with accountability is reliant on Bondi. She hasn't done a damn thing. Biggest disappointment of this administration so far, says Chubby. I'm not fully expecting a single one of these people to face charges. Even her statement alluded to her not doing anything. She passed the buck on the locals. We all know they'll do nothing. The locals will not do anything. Which statement from Bondi? You're talking about this one? Are being met with the full force of federal law. If the state leaders refuse to act like that right there. Yeah, you're right. That is a pretty lame statement. If they refuse to act, they're already refusing to act. You're right about that. So yeah, she better do something, man. She passed the buck. Between Bondi and the activists that have taken over our courts and juries, nothing will happen. Man, I hope you're wrong about that, Chubby, but for some reason, I feel like you might be right. Minnesota is going to defend them. This is what I was explaining. I think it's almost like goading. It's like, you're not going to do anything. So F you. Like, what are you going to do? In Minneapolis, you're not going to charge us. So they can just get away with it and do whatever they want. That better not happen, man. Emperor Trajan, every time that something like this happens and there's no charges, like Pam Bondi and the DOJ loses a certain percentage. It's like you go, all right, they started 100. We're all excited. Okay, no election fraud, anything going on. All right, lose 10%. All right, you got, Kilmark gets released. Okay, guys lost that one. Okay, lose another 5%. Comey, Letitia James cases get dismissed. Another 5% goes down. Epstein files. You're going to release everything. Files are on my desk. I got tens of thousands of images of PDFs and all the things. Those don't get released. You lose another 20%. Big one. Whoa, big drop. Then you got Democrats attacking ICE facilities. Nobody really charged. Womp. You're losing cases. Subway sandwich guy. Lose it. Keep going down. Now you have invaders in Christian churches, and you're not going to do anything about that. It's like, but you're going to continue to go down. Eventually, you're going to lose everybody. So how do you, and again, like a grand conspiracy case goes, whoa, wow, that's pretty good. You got Brennan, you got Obama, you got Clapper, you got Comey. But right now, that's all just fiction in our head. It doesn't actually exist. And so at some point, your friends, like I used to play foosball with a lot of friends. after school. One of my friends had a foosball table, like a really good one. So we'd all go there and play foosball for hours. And we'd all talk garbage to each other. And it's, sometimes in foosball, you just get on a run. You get on a run, you just bump, sinking everything. Other side can't keep up. And then you just look and you yell at each other. You just say, scoreboard. What's the scoreboard? Somebody talking. What's the scoreboard? Oh, how many points do you have? Oh, 2. Oh, yeah. So like you can talk and we can all say, well, they're understaffed. They got 500 people over here, whatever. Like your job is to go find more staff. Your job is to get the job done. So that's, and we're coming up, like we're almost at halftime now. So Emperor Trajan says, Democrats know that they won't be charged. And even if they are, a friendly judge will dismiss the charges. They are so confident and the Republicans are so feckless that they are literally posting everyone who took part in the storming of a church and celebrating it and calling for more of it. Yeah, she just posted literally everyone involved. It's like, what are you going to do? You're not going to do anything about it. She's a lawyer. Like she knows. What are they going to do? Nothing. Hey, Moore here says, 14 months is a membo. Still watching from Scotland, man. Shout out to Scotland. I'd love to go visit that part of the world. I've not been there, but that would be awesome. More here. 14 months is a membo. Thanks for being here. Almost 2 babies in the house. Bonnie says, Bible verse in the King James Version that speaks about respecting government is Romans 13:1, which states, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that are ordained of God. This passage and the verses that follow, Romans 13:1-7, instructs believers to submit to governing authorities because they are established by God for order, punishing wrongdoers and upholding justice. Yeah, apparently for Don, like Jesus is just like an anarchist who's just like everybody can do whatever they want all the time with no consequences whatsoever at all. And if you're a good person, you're going to vote Democrat because that's what Jesus would have wanted. You're like, what? Society's just like illegals can do whatever they want, our kids and all that, and we just have to like sit here and take it in the name of Christianity. Emperor Trajan says, look, Republicans are cowardly and inept, and that is going to lead Democrats getting back in power and more illegals and more lawfare and more American moms and daughters becoming victims. You people better seriously start asking what you're willing to do when your politicians in courts refuse. Democrats can do whatever they want. And we got some hard questions coming up if they do take power. Thank you for those pictures of those firearms. Chubby says, can anyone show me where in the U.S. Constitution it says that the point of protesting is to make others uncomfortable? I don't think it's in there. Where have the forefathers said it? I've had no luck at all finding that claim anywhere. Yeah, I don't think it's in there for that. I mean, free speech by virtue of speaking hard truths can make people uncomfortable, but it's not like your right to protest is emanating from your ability to make people uncomfortable. It's like you can say true things. There's a lot of ways to make people uncomfortable. Invading their ceremony, like physically trespassing, getting in their faces, calling them names, insulting them about being fake Christians, and then saying that they're basically all bad people because of their pastor who happens to be connected to ICE. That's uncomfortable because it's a crime, right? It's completely offensive. But if you're outside protesting, if like think about like the Westboro church people, like they have all the signs out there, like, God hates the whatever. And that makes some people uncomfortable, but that's not illegal because there are time, place, and manner restrictions. And it's about using your speech. Speech is powerful because it changes people's minds, which is why they want to censor you to prevent that tool from going into effect. So saying things that makes people uncomfortable is a component of the First Amendment, but your right to protest is tied to the speech, not to the uncomfortableness that you cause on people. Emperor Trajan. Okay, read that over and over and then recognize we're in the middle of a revolution. Only one side is fighting for their beliefs while the other hasn't even arrested anyone for trying to overthrow Trump's first presidency. I know. I mean, we got Arctic frost, we got crossfire hurricane, we got COVID, all the COVID fraud. We have literally all of the collusion between Jack Smith and all of the state prosecutors, Fani Willis and Letitia James and Matthew Colangelo, all the Hunter Biden garbage, all the J6 garbage. Like the list is huge. Then you get a new one like this that's just easy. It's just like easy. This is a gimme. They walked right in. There's tons of Biden precedent. Pam Bondi could have indictments by the end of the week. Will she? No. Maybe. I hope I'm wrong, but probably not. Theo Wold, what's up, Theo? Good to see. Shout out to Theo. Amazing. Thank you for that. Emperor Trajan says, one picture is the final election results for the Virginia House and the governor race. The other is a bill Democrats are going to pass to force taxpayers to buy their homes and people. I don't know what to tell you anymore. Democrats are going to unleash. A lot of blackpilling there today from Emperor Trajan. Hey, Chubby, if Don Lemon had been present at any ICE raids, we'd be seeing the videos. Are there any of him joining a raid? Nope. Don claiming he's providing facts is so comical. Everyone he spewed and everything that came out of his mouth is false and leftist propaganda and talking points from Chubby. Yeah, and he just talks confidently, and I think he talks like kind of quickly so people just kind of accept it, but it's not accurate at all. And he just throws out those things like a misdemeanor is not a crime. Emperor says, I'm fatigued from the people causing me fatigue, fatiguing my fatigue. Yeah, there's a lot of fatigue for sure. Rick, Harmeet Dillon was on Benny Johnson's show today saying that they could use the Klan Act to enhance the FACE Act at the church from a misdemeanor into a felony. That's probably what they did with those other convictions that we just looked at. Thank you, Rick. Good to see you. Chubby, Don Lemon was literally gloating over that poor child being traumatized. Says, I'm willing to bet those organizations have Act Blue links on their websites. Probably. Yeah. And it'd be interesting to, again, find out where they're getting their funding. Who's paying for these people to do this? Chubby, good to see you. NY. Don Lemon's own words, which seems to justify the interruption. He said, illegal immigrants don't feel safe. Therefore, the churchgoers shouldn't feel safe. That's his like moral equivalency. A civil mob was stopping regular cars and searching and seizing private citizens from NY. Good to see you, NY. Darlene Lane. What's up, Darlene Lane? Thank you for the nice dono, Darlene, and for being here this morning. Happy Monday. NY, first of all, I think it is against my Orthodox practice to film the liturgy without permission. Did he have permission? And not in a private sanctuary. Many churches ban the recording of inside of the church. Well, Don didn't really care about anything. Didn't care about any of the preferences of the church. Just wanted to go in there and make his point and get some more subscribers. Rubos, what's up? This must be settled in the courts of heaven before it can be done on earth. Therefore, we pray. We carry all the enemies of the body of Christ, the church of the highest court of the kingdom of God. We ask you, El Elyon, the only righteous and just judge, to be the judge between the body of Christ and its enemies, and avenge the wrong that they have done to the body of Christ, the church, and their hands shall not be upon them. We ask all this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. The triumph of the Lamb, the spiritual warfare series, the wisdom and power of fasting and prayer. From the Rubos? Man, is that book 2 coming out? Amazing. Volume 1, the spiritual warfare series. Man, that sounds good. Rubos are good spiritual warriors. Thank you to the Rubos. LZ, I used to get $50 for a 4-ounce bottle of suicidal empathy. Now I can't even give it away. It's everywhere. Yeah, and we have an entire political party that's just filled with it. Like they drink it every morning by the gallon. KC Cat says Harmeet Dillon is the one bringing the charges. Yeah, she's talked about that under the FACE Act, and she works for Pam. But good call on that, KC Cat. So Rick D, what's up? Breaking, a group of liberal white women mostly have taken over a Target in St. Paul, demanding that Target stop letting ICE and Border Patrol agents use their bathrooms from Target. These people are just, do they have jobs? What are they doing? Neuro D, what's up? Hey, Bagel Boy over on Rumble says, demons like lemon lie and profess that they are Christians. Yeah, it's, kind of taking a false identity. Ironic that he just happened to be there, like the CNN crew that was at Roger Stone's house when he was getting arrested in the wee hours of the morning. Yeah, right, please. Yeah, Don was there. He was recording. We're getting ready to go in. Rubos, what's up? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said it best in 2020. The whole point of protesting is to make people uncomfortable. Activists take that discomfort with the status quo and advocate for concrete policy changes. Popular support often starts small and grows To folks who complain, protest demands make others uncomfortable. That's the point. All right. I mean, I thought it was more about changing a person's opinion, like letting know other people. Like, I see many protests, but they don't make me uncomfortable. But I'm like, oh, wow, okay, that's what they're arguing about? Okay. And if it's going to make me uncomfortable in a criminal way, then you should be prosecuted for that. Like, you can't commit a crime just to achieve your political point. So what's up, AOC? She's a moron. All right, thank you for that from the Rubos. All right, so my friends, it has been a beautiful and a lovely, lovely stream. If you're just joining us and you're a membo, stick around because we're going to debrief and hang out a bit more. We got some locals friends. Hang tight. If you're watching on Substack, hang tight. And if you're on YouTube, it should auto-magically transfer you over, and then we'll debrief. We'll see what, oh my goodness, 100-car pileup in Michigan. Did you just see that? Prayers up for them. I think otherwise it's a pretty slow day. There's some football going on tonight. And so we'll be back tomorrow to get into it again. Yeah, pretty slow day today. Congress is out. MLK Day. President's going to the football game tonight. So good stuff. All right. So my friends, we'll pause here for the day. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow to get into it again. Big thank yous go out to our amazing mods and meme smiths who mod the fort down for us and keep things nice and beautiful around here. Thank you to Muffin Rando. We got Carrie B in the house. Thank you to K Bean, John, Donut, Mind Me. We appreciate Neuro D over here on Rumble, checking it out. Janek, Dog Digger, Geegum Geegum, Just Rhonda, and Elliot, Docmaster in the house. But my friends, it's been a beautiful stream. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for navigating through the demonic forces with us this morning. It has been a beautiful stream. And so we'll debrief. We'll have an after party, and then we'll come back tomorrow to get into it again. Couple X comments. Hey, Chip Ewing says, Douglas Mackey, a.k.a. Ricky Vaughn. Yeah, he was convicted for that meme. Remember that? He got convicted for an internet meme. I remember that. I Am Back says, arrest Don Lemon is trending on X right now. It's good. He should be arrested. T, if he committed a crime. And they identified, this is who they thought the pastor was. They harassed a pastor after they misidentified him, says our friend T over on X. So they didn't even get the right guy. What a bunch of dumbs. Bunch of dumbs. All right. And so, my friends, it's after party time. If you're a membo, we can't wait to hang out, debrief, see what else is percolating on the day. Come and join us. Thanks for being a membo. We'll take some locals comments. And thanks for supporting our work. Thanks for subscribing to our channel as well and liking the video on the way out. And then, of course, we'll be back tomorrow to get into it again. And we would love to see you back here because we will be getting into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful day, my friends. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are